So this is the seventh day of our 7-day retreat here at Southern Dharma Retreat Center. And whether it has been the most wondrous experience of your life, or whether it has been the most excruciating experience of your life, whether time seemed to move incredibly speedily, or time just seemed to drag unceasingly, none of that matters now, does it? Like last night's dream, that is all gone. All our ups and our downs, all our smooth sailing and all our struggles, like last night's dream, have no permanence, no existence at all. And looking back on that, we may wonder, why did I put myself through that? Why did I put myself through that? Since it was all fabrication anyhow. None of it had any substance, solidity to it at all, and ultimately no meaning. Is that true? So please look back on the unfolding melodrama of our life that we take so seriously, even when we come to a 7-day retreat on unfettering the natural mind. Notice how we fettered it. But hopefully, with the wonderful support of the staff, the environment here, the natural beauty, silence, non-conceptual presence of nature, with the support of each other, with the support of the schedule, the bells, and with the support of these wonderful teachings. Came from Patrul Rinpoche, Third Dzogchen Rinpoche, Shabka Rinpoche, and last night Jamyang Kongtrul Rinpoche. Rinpoche just means precious one, just what they're called. Great teachers are the precious jewels of humanity. We should treasure them as such. So again, it was through the benefit of these teachings and these practices that we were able to utilize all these wonderful conditions, supportive conditions, nurturing conditions, to get some glimmer, some glimpse into the way things really are. For some of us, it was an intellectual or conceptual experience, but that still could be beneficial because we have many wrong perceptions. So certainly developing correct perceptions that based on the way things are rather than a misperception is certainly beneficial, helpful. We have a better map in this life. Before we had a faulty map. It told us things are here and things are there when that wasn't true at all. It was like somebody giving you a totally wrong map. Keep ending up in the wrong place. But the teachers have given us a very clear map, and so having that map, having that manual certainly is wonderful step up for us in an evolutionary scale. But of course, we want to take conceptual knowledge into direct experience, and that only comes from practice. And my hope is that everyone here, in their own way, has had some degree of direct experience of these teachings. And there has been an opening. There have been openings. Your eyes are more open than they were before. You see things that you didn't see before, and you perceive things in new ways. Now, In just a few hours, we will be breaking camp, so to speak. If this was an encampment, we'd be, saddling our horses and moving on. The life you return to is not going to be like this life. As I said from the first day, these are retreat conditions, are wonderful experimental conditions to enable us in so to speak, the easiest circumstance to carry on experiments with our mind. But that all the kind of circumstances that have supported us over this past week will not be there, certainly not be there in the same degree. Therefore, at this point, you do not understand that many of the ways that you have come to feel or experience, or the way you feel now, or whatever, the things you come to understand, are also in you now because of the causes and conditions that have supported you over the past week. You will find, not only will they not be there the way they are now, but also very different types of circumstances, causes and conditions will be present in your life. Hopefully they are not inimical or toxic to what you've received here, but they may not be as clearly supportive and consistent. Is that clear? There'll be many things that will be pulling you in many different ways. And once again, they will seem important to others. They will seem attractive to others. They will seem significant to others. As well, each of us here have our own historical connection to the world and its phenomena, that we also have a history of finding all this stuff attractive, seductive, meaningful, purposeful. Is that clear? So please understand the forces of our conditioning and the forces of the worldly dharmas are quite powerful in the world. We retreated from the world, so we only had to deal with the leftovers, the residues that are in our mind, which quite powerful by themselves. But soon we'll be entering where we got it from. and maybe you have changed over these past 7 days, but the world hasn't. Okay? So knowing that, it is really each one of our choices, right? Whatever your experience has been up here, it could just be a historical experience, and you could just jump back into the life you had before the same exact way with the same exact result. That's fine. I mean, if that is a life that gives you everything you want, that's wonderful. But if you have intimated, sensed, experienced things on retreat that you find are incredibly meaningful for you and others, and you want to continue to maintain them or extend them, deepen them, then you need to be on guard. You need to be very purposeful in the way you conduct your life, or it will all fritter away. And everybody here who's been on retreat in the past knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, it just becomes a memory, right? And whether it was a good memory or a bad memory is depending on the way you package it. But either way, it'll just become a memory, and it'll be same old, and you'll go, what happened? Now, even though, again, I assure you, the seeds of what you've experienced here and the nurturance you've given, those positive seeds of awakening are in you. But again, if they're not watered, if they're not cared for, they will return to their kind of dormancy. Many of you here know exactly what I'm talking about. You may have seeds within you that you cultivated in the past, but you let them go dormant, and they go dormant. And it's same old, same old. And you'll find yourself back in the same old places. And then you know what? A year from now, you'll be going through the catalog. You go, wow, it's just what I need. 7-day retreat at Southern Dharma. And it just becomes just, like that. If you don't want it to be like that, then there has to be a consistency in practice, again, which you're going to have to be in charge of nurturing unless you move to a retreat center or a monastery or something like that, where this kind of environment will be offered to you. So therefore, in the same way that our daily practice here has a structure to it, we don't just kind of walk in here and flop down on our cushion. And I don't know how many people that's their daily formal practice. They kind of, get up, have some coffee, then go flop down on the cushion for a while, or flop down in a chair. This activity of meditation, of our formal practice, has to be treated in a very special way. So in the same way, we come into the meditation hall, we sit on our meditation seat, we ring our bell, we do some opening verses. I advise you to do the same in your practice. So your formal practice has a definition and a meaning to it that you're using the circumstances, the ambience of how you conduct it, lighting incense, bowing, all the things we sort of do here, you can do at home. Again, it just creates a sense of sacredness or specialness or purposefulness in terms of your practice. Okay. And again, in the same way here, we have practices that we do when we are sitting formally, and even within a meditation period of 30 or 40 minutes or 45 minutes, we may be moving from 1 to 2 to 3 different practices. You should always have a structure and a purpose to your daily practice. Know what you're practicing. Okay? And there is no reason that you can't spend 5 or 10 minutes in the beginning of your practice reflecting on the 4 mind turnings. Every day we should, before we step out into the world, we should make sure that we are clear what we are stepping into. The 4 mind turnings help us do that. The cultivation of bodhicitta, the cultivation of altruism. My purpose this day is to be as benefit to people. May I only be of benefit to people. May I do no harm to anyone. That should be our thought when we wake up in the morning, but it should definitely be our thought when we're sitting in meditation before we step into the world. To cultivate this altruistic sense of what our day is about. And to stay present, to stay mind, all the things we're doing. That should be consciously in your mind and setting that intention as you move into your day. Is that clear? Again, and you've heard me say it many times, I don't think I have to say it to most of you because most of you are involved with Sangha and community. But it has been the great emphasis of Thich Nhat Hanh in his teaching that he has elevated Sangha. Traditionally, in the 3 jewels, as we've all recited every day, the Buddha and the Dharma are like, the big ones, and the Sangha are kind of like those who do the Buddha Dharma. But Thich Nhat Hanh has said, in this day and age, with the forces of materialism and consumerism, electronics, etc., so powerful, that without the support of a Sangha, without the support of other practitioners, without the support of spiritual friends, by ourselves it is extremely difficult to maintain any kind of consistency in practice. That's just the truth. And I think everybody here knows it, whether you like it or not. Again, we are a culture where we say what? I can do it, as my grandson says, I can do it myself. Or as he says, I can do it yourself. Hasn't quite gotten his pronouns down yet, but I can do it yourself. So we are very much into, we can see where it comes from. I can do it myself. No, we cannot do it ourselves. By ourselves, all we can do is muck about. Right? That's all we do by ourselves. That's why we need teachers. That's why we need Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Because by ourselves, we cannot get out of our own way. Right? We cannot get out of our own conditioning because it is our own conditioning and it seems real and true to us. Right? So we need help. Luckily, help is available. But we have to access it. So it's important to have a Sangha, to have regular contact with a Sangha, so we can be nurtured by it and we can nurture others, which is also a way of learning. We need teachers, we need teaching. Please, on your own, you can study. Refresh. You may not have a teacher every day to give you a Dharma talk, but there are readings, or nowadays on the internet, there's lots of good stuff available. But don't be a dilettante. Don't go to these, what do they call them, eat all you can buffets, just kind of. Some people use the internet and Dharma just consuming Dharma talks from all these different teachers. Well, again, I'm not saying that's bad, but I think when you're shopping around, that might be, at that stage, that might be helpful just to get a sense of what's out there. But at a certain point in your practice, you kind of, need things that are nurturing what you're cultivating, what you're practicing. And again, that may not be, one talk after another talk on different, you know what I mean? It's like, pick and choose. And hopefully you'll pick quality. Again, the internet, there's no quality. You can access anything, right? Any third-rate teacher, like even this one, can have his own YouTube up there. It's like, the internet does not discriminate. Anybody can post on YouTube. Okay, so you see, when I pick text to share with you, I go to the best. I go to the source. I go to people of real awakening. And you can see that. You can hear it in the teachings because it's just so simple, so direct, so clear. Right? Don't be fooled by words. Don't be fooled by verbiage. Don't be fooled by intellect. Right? Look for teachers who have realization, real understanding. So again, you can on your own. Again, it's not going to be like retreat. It's not going to be here, but you can create circumstances in your life to support your aspiration. Okay, but you have to be diligent. That's, again, one of the things you've learned about this retreat and having a schedule is you have no choice, do you? If you had a choice when to sit, when not to sit, when do I feel like sitting, right? What kind of retreat would you have had? Right? You might have had a nice time. Right? A real nice time at Southern Dharma. I could sit when I want, sleep when I want, walk around, You might have had a nice vacation. Spa, Southern Dharma. But that's a vacation. That's not a Dharma retreat. Is that clear? And so it's important that we have some commitment in our daily life to practice, to formal practice. Right? It shouldn't just be when I feel like it, or do I feel like it, or when I have time for it. Because I assure you, if it's based on when do I feel like it and when do I have time for it, you know what? Everything else will have time but this. That is the perversity of this mind of ours. Right? It values that which has no value and does not value that which is most valuable. Is that true? Yes. I mean, if you want proof how deluded we are, there it is. Even though we know better, right? In our moments of sanity, clarity, still, we will just, fritter our life away in meaningless pursuits. Again, each of you here has been given a precious jewel. It is yours, but you have to use it wisely to take its value and bring that value into your life. And again, during the course of this retreat, in the guided meditations and other things, I think you've been given clear instructions what formal practice and a formal meditation period looks like. Please practice the same way at home. There it is. Have a formal practice. Before I get to off the cushion practice, let me ask you, before we get into that, do you have any questions? Is anything that has been demonstrated or taught in the last 7 days not clear to you? I mean, there's been so much repetition, and there's been lots of opportunity to clear up a question, but I just want to make sure before we leave here. Yes?
I'm not familiar with the space gazing exercise, and I think I missed something in the original instructions, and I just wondered if you could say.
Yeah, again, there's been other retreats I know some of you have been on where we've really focused on space gazing and gone down to the meadow and laid down it and looked up. So space gazing is, again, a very particular practice in this Dzogchen tradition. Okay? Because as you noticed, and we've talked about it, space, right, is a very central experience, right? The spaciousness of mind, and being a very practical and creative tradition, why not use something that's within the experience of everyone to help one open one's mind up to the spaciousness. So obviously, the most obvious spaciousness is the space around us, but even more so. And again, don't forget Tibet. Anybody ever been to Tibet or been to high mountains? You know, lots of space, lots of empty space. So when you go there, you go, oh, I can see why this became such a, it's like that. So, again, I don't want to go too much into it, but basically, traditionally it's done outdoors. Okay, and traditionally it's done either laying down or sitting in a chair, and the gaze is up, and the gaze is into space. Okay, one notices the space. Okay. And one begins a process of, with the breath, bringing that space inside, breathing it in, and then breathing it out. And then the object, very simply, is to use that seen sense of space, and by merging with that and bringing that in, to really begin to create this kind of indivisible spaciousness of awareness. So it is. I mean, it's a very serious. It's a not serious practice, but I mean, people go about it seriously. I mean, the same way we might sit in here for 2 hours. Somebody may go outside and be sitting on a rock or something. I mean, looking up into space, or laying down and looking up into space, and maybe doing that for hours and hours, as a meditative practice. Okay. Any other questions? Just about practice. Yes.
When I investigate, I'm looking for an eye, and I look at in the body first, and then I look at in the mind. Could you just repeat when I look at in the mind how it would look?
Okay, so the question is, when you're looking for the I, the self, again, she seems to say I kind of get it in the body, but what does it mean when I look in the mind? Again, the first thing when you're doing these kind of practices, where you're investigating, you need a target to investigate. So that traditionally, that is why you generate, so to speak, the I thought. Right? And often the best way to do that is to think about a time when the I was really strong, when you're really angry or really hurt or really desired something, or you know what I mean, when you're, when the ego is big, right? If you're going to do target practice, isn't it nice to have a big target, right? I mean, the bigger the target, you can't miss, right? All right, so you want a big target. Big Aista, big self. Okay, so and in that there's a reality to it. It feels, I am pissed off. Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, you know what I mean. You're just full of yourself. Okay, so you got a big target. Now, again, the teaching says, but is that real? Right? There's a sense of self. There's an I thought, a me, right? A you, But now you want to ask yourself, what is the source of this? What is this? Simply say, what is this sense of self? Right? Right? What is this Aista who's so angry, right? Or so scared? It's like what you said when you were the other night, and all of a sudden you got terrified, right? And if somebody said, Aista, what's going on? You'd say, I'm scared. I'm scared there are monsters out here, right? So that's great. Can you see? Your I was all-powerful, okay? Again, if you have the wherewithal, that's why it's easy to do in the meditation hall than maybe out there. But, practitioners of old, they would go to cemeteries. Very common practice. Meditators would go to cemeteries, which in Asia were really more like charnel grounds. So a place where bodies are there. Could be pieces of body left over. If there was a body burnt earlier today, there'd be jackals running around. And of course, these are societies where people believed in ghosts and monsters. There was those kind of. So if there's any place you never wanted to go to, was what? Cemetery. So if a practitioner really wanted to work on their self, their sense of I, what better place to go than where, the self is, so just for that reason, is big. So there you are. Now, if you can turn and look into your mind, right, that where you think that I dwells. Aista, in other words, what is Aista? Or what is Fred? You see what? What? A body, and what you don't see, but you probably believe is here is what? A mind. So that's basically, it's simply, that's what we are. Okay? We won't get into the connection. All right? So first you look in your body, and you can't find Aista. Then you look into your mind. Thoughts, emotions, perceptions, just conscious awareness, where it's got to be somewhere, right? It's so strong. Right? So this is you're looking throughout your mind and your body for this thing that seems so real. It's got you totally terrified. She's scared something's going to happen to it, right? Is your body scared as it walks in the woods? Ask your body. Well, you're getting it all. You're getting it all aroused. But is your body scared? Just think of your body. No, your body's not scared by itself, right? You've gotten the poor thing all freaked out. Right? Please remember, our bodies are dependent on us for some intelligence. If we tell it there are monsters just about to jump, it'll get scared. Unfortunately, it doesn't have anybody else to check with. Okay, so it's dependent on us to give it right information, and unfortunately, we give it lots of wrong information. So is that clear? So again, you know, and you just keep looking until not only are you convinced that you can't find it, right? Even though they're, and then you finally look at that which is looking, and you take that apart, and you can't find anything there, even though there seems to be. But there's not, when you look, there's nothing there. And then you rest. Okay? Anything else? It's got to be a good one.
I'll make it quick. That going to that mindfulness meditation, sometimes when you're getting into it or feel like I may be on it, I get these little surges of energy coming up kind of my spine a little bit. It sort of comes up in my head, and I sort of want to just kind of put my eyes on it and just let it flow up. Yeah, what that is.
I'm not going to go into it, but whatever it is, it's an experience that you're having, right? Let it be. Just let it be. See, if it's something that's happening, it's happening, isn't it? But you see, yeah, but you see what the mind wants to do? It immediately wants to develop some thought about it. I mean, what's that going to do for you? If you said, "Oh, this is the Kundalini manifesting up my spine," I mean, then what? Then you pat yourself on the back. It is what it is, isn't it? And we need to learn to let things be. If we have experiences, energetic experiences, hallucinate, whatever we have, it is what it is. I mean, Robbie the other day, she was seeing people. I mean, God knows what that was about. Right? Today you're not, right? No. Right. And anyhow, we do have a psychiatrist in residence. Okay, so. But right, I mean, it is what it is. That's all. We don't have to panic. We don't have to. Okay. So, oh yes, Jacqueline.
I had a question, kind of just connecting to where Aista was, that when I feel like I'm looking, it starts just to feel like an intellectual thing, like I'm asking these questions, and I ask them, and I ask them, and then it almost kind of sounds silly after a while, that I'm just like, who's feeling this, who's thinking this,
right.
And it kind of sounds absurd, and then that's sort of what sometimes I just go, okay, it's absurd.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Okay. Again, these should not be automatic practices. There should be some juice, some life to it. Okay? Have you noticed in the course of your life that the sense of self and the I, me, mine has caused you lots of suffering? Okay. Have you noticed that the I, me, mine is kind of an omnipresent experience that colors so much of your experiences with people and yourself? So you notice that. You have to remind yourself of that. Okay? So if somebody told you that this thing which is so disturbing to you doesn't really exist and you don't have to be disturbed in it, would you be interested in learning about that? Okay. So there has to be some energy, some curiosity that we're bringing to the inquiry. Yeah, I want to know. God, if this whole thing's a fabrication, right? I mean, Aista, every day she has to walk through the woods on her way to work, and the growls, and she's terrified every day, right? Yeah, but what if she found out? Wouldn't you want to find out it's just Charlie messing around with you? It's just Charlie. It's not the monster of your childhood. It's just crazy Charlie up there in the bushes, rattling things. I mean, he's really harmless. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you want to know that? Right. So the next day when you walk and you start, you go, you kind of, Charlie, just crazy, harmless Charlie, right? You know what I mean? You could laugh, you know what I mean? Or you could go, poor guy, Do you see what I'm saying? So knowing has a purpose, okay? And that is what's fueling your inquiry, because you do think there's a self. You do think Jacqueline exists. And all her hurts and all her fears and all her yearnings and all her past and future all belong to her. So again, there has to be some energy in wanting to know the truth. And that's what the investigation is. We've read it, we've heard the talks on it, now I'm going to find out for myself. Okay? I mean, that's important, or else you're right. If it just becomes, just another boring practice I'm supposed to be doing.
But what I meant by the absurd was also that it gets kind of funny. It's sort of like there's a little part that says, yeah, it's not real, and that's part of what's funny or absurd,
Yeah, but you don't want to be thinking. You want to, the true experience when you come to the end is in the early stages of it is great relief and release. And if there's a laugh, it's a deep belly laugh. It's like you got the joke. It's not just ha ha ha. It's like, wow, it's deep belly. It's like, it's just a joke. All that I've been doing for the last 60 years, all my ups and downs and backs and forth, it's just a joke. It's based on an illusion. Now that's worth laughing about. All right, so that's good. So bring them up more. So, as I said, in the Dzogchen tradition, there's called formal practice, what we've been doing, and then there's what's called post-meditation practice, okay, which is, as we move about the world, right? We have left the confines of our meditation cushion and the practices we're doing, and now there's an acknowledgement that the world of activity, we cannot maintain, unless we're a Buddha or something, the same level of clarity and concentration, etc. So what is our stance when we enter the world as practitioners of this path? So I wanted to share with you a really beautiful text. I don't know if it probably was a talk, but I don't know if it was written by a modern master who's really was considered like a Patrul Rinpoche, like a Jamyang Kongtrul. His name was Digo Chensi Rinpoche. I don't know if people have ever. There's a wonderful documentary on about him and about his life. He was almost 7 feet tall. He was but an extraordinary. I mean, his life spanned. He was born in the late 1800s. I mean, it was the kind of life of the ancients. I mean, he spent, I think, 17 years in retreat. I mean, then was told his teacher, your place is to teach in the world, and just had an extraordinary life of teaching and helping people. He was known not only for the unceasingness of his wisdom, but the unceasing of his activity. He would, when he was in residence, people came to see him. It didn't matter. As long as there were people waiting, he would see them. It didn't matter if they were rich, poor, whatever. He was, anyhow, there's a great documentary on him called, it's called something. But it's, and there's a book with pictures of his life. I mean, he was an extraordinary being.
Could you spell his name?
His first is D-I-L-G-O, Digo Chensi, K-H-Y-E-N-T-S-E, Rinpoche. Now again, there are a lot of them, they're all reincarnating. So this is D-I-L-G-O, Dilgo Chensi, Rinpoche. And actually now he's got a little tulku, or I think he's a teenager now. So he died in the 80s. So you want that one, the original one, Digo Chensi Rinpoche. So this is called Dzogchen Practice in Everyday Life, and we'll read it. We're going to closing circle is at what time? 11. So we have 20 minutes to get. So we can't do it all. So just listen. I'll probably then mostly read it. I don't need to comment on him, but maybe I'll just say a few words. or if something you can stop me, if there's something you want. But it's really, I mean, as I say, it's so clear and simple, there is really no need probably for me to say anything other than just read it to you. So be like you know how a child is listening to a bedtime story. They love it, don't they? They just listen to it. It's all very real to them. So be like a child. Actually, in the Dzogchen tradition, when it said how to be in post-meditation, you know what the instruction is? Be like a child going to the temple and looking around with awe. If you've ever been to a Tibetan temple or seen pictures of it, you know every square inch is painted, thangkas, paintings, frescoes. I mean, it's just, it's Rococo, Barocco. I mean, it's just, it is incredible. Okay? So it's saying how to be in the world, be like a child who's brought to the temple. Just it's all wonder. Be in wonderment of the world. Okay? Now, so, Dzogchen Chensi Rinpoche writes or said, please pay close attention. The everyday practice of Dzogchen is simply to develop a complete, carefree acceptance and openness to all situations without limit. We should realize openness as the playground of our emotions and relate to people without artificiality, manipulation, or strategy. We should experience everything totally, never withdrawing into ourselves as a marmot hides in its hole. This practice releases tremendous energy, which is usually constricted by the process of maintaining fixed reference points. Referentiality is the process by which we retreat from direct experience of everyday life. Now pay attention for those of you who this isn't second nature. He says, being present in the moment may initially trigger fear, but by welcoming the sensation of fear with complete openness, we cut through the barriers created by habitual emotional patterns. When we engage in the practice of discovering space, you've heard that before, we should develop the feeling of opening ourselves out completely to the entire universe. We should open ourselves with absolute simplicity and nakedness of mind. This is the powerful and yet ordinary practice of dropping the mask of self-protection. I'm going to read that again, because there are many people who think the purpose of life is to maintain the mask of self-protection. That life's about the strategy of hiding, of performing. We should open ourselves with absolute simplicity and nakedness of mind. This is the powerful yet ordinary practice of dropping the mask of self-protection. We shouldn't make a division in our meditation between perceptions and fields of perception. We shouldn't become like a cat watching a mouse. We should realize the purpose of meditation. Now he's saying the true purpose of meditation, the way he's defining it, is not to go, quote unquote, deeply into ourselves or to withdraw from the world. Practice should be free and non-conceptual, unconstrained by introspection and concentration. Is that clear? He's not saying that concentration, introspection, I hear you over there, Charlie, aren't part of the practice. He said these things should not be constraining us, Charlie. Don't turn them into a thing. Like, don't bother me, I'm concentrating. Right? Don't disturb me now, I'm introspecting. Like that. Be open. There are times, remember, on the mat, on the cushion, when you're doing this introspective self-examination. Right? That's the laboratory work. Now we're going about the world. Be open to everything. Unrestrained. Don't use, many people use their practice as a means to escape from. Just another strategy, right? Practicing mindfulness. Now that's a good strategy, right? As you've learned, this awareness of ours, this true mind of ours, is always here. It is without definition. It has no restrictions and no constraints at all. It is free and easy. Why turn that in? That wonderful, miraculous this for a practice of mindfulness. If you're practicing mindfulness, you'll never experience this. Vast, unoriginated, self-luminous wisdom space is the ground of being, the beginning and the end of confusion. The presence of awareness is a primordial state that has no bias toward enlightenment or non-enlightenment. The ground of being, which is known as the pure original mind, is the source from which all phenomena arises. Everything's perfect just as it is. All phenomena, which means phenomena is everything that appears to our awareness, through our five senses, through our mind, consciousness, right? Everything that appears is phenomena, right? All phenomena appear in their uniqueness as part of a continually changing pattern. These patterns are vibrant with meaning and significance at every moment, yet there is no significance to attach to such meetings beyond the moment in which they present themselves. That is why you don't need to turn your experience of whatever's going on in your spine into something you're thinking about. The meaning of it is in the experience. With no effort or practice whatsoever, liberation or enlightenment is already here. The everyday practice of Dzogchen is just everyday life itself. Since the undeveloped state does not exist, there is no need to behave in any special way or attempt to attain anything above and beyond who you actually and what you actually are. There should be no feeling of striving to reach some quote-unquote amazing goal or quote-unquote advanced state. Do you hear that, Charlie? To strive for such a state is a neurosis, which only conditions us and serves to obstruct the free flow of mind. We should also avoid thinking of ourselves as worthless persons. We are naturally free and unconditioned. We are intrinsically enlightened and lack nothing. When engaging in meditation practice, we should feel it to be as natural as eating, breathing, defecating. It should not become a specialized or formal event bloated with seriousness and solemnity. We should realize that meditation transcends effort, practice, aims, goals, and the duality of liberation and non-liberation. Of course, here, what does he mean by meditation? He means just resting in our natural mind. This is the true purpose and meaning of meditation. Everything short of that are just practices. Right. So he's giving us the full picture. Since everything that arises is simply the play of the mind as such, there is no unsatisfactory meditation and no need to judge thoughts as good as bad. Therefore, we should simply sit. Anybody over here anything in Zen about just sitting? Simply stay in your place, in your own condition, just as it is, forgetting self-conscious feelings. We do not have to think, I am meditating. Our practice should be without effort, without strain, without attempts to control or force, and without trying to become peaceful. Then these are all things that we've been looking at. If we find that we're disturbing ourselves in any of these ways, stop meditating and simply rest and relax for a while. Then when we resume our meditation, if we have interesting experiences, quote unquote, either during or after meditation, we should avoid making anything special of them. To spend time thinking about experiences is simply a distraction and an attempt to become unnatural. These experiences are simply signs of practice and should be regarded as transient events. We should not attempt to re-experience them, because to do so only serves to distort the natural spontaneity of mind. Is that clear? I mean, is there anything that's not clear in this? Good. And now the last paragraph. Please again listen like a child. All phenomena are completely new and fresh, absolutely unique, entirely free from all concepts of past, present, and future. Is that clear? All phenomena are totally free of any fabrication. Even thoughts themselves, right, which we call fabrications, when you look right at it, will disappear. There's no fabrication there. They are experienced in timelessness. The continual stream of new discovery, revelation, and inspiration which arises at every moment is the manifestation of our clarity. We should learn to see everyday life as a mandala, the luminous fringes of experience which radiate spontaneously from the empty nature of our being. The aspects of our mandala are the day-to-day objects of our life experience, moving in the dance or play of the universe. By this symbolism, the inner teacher reveals the profound and ultimate significance of being. Therefore, we should be natural and spontaneous, accepting and learning from everything. This enables us to see the ironic and amusing side of events that usually irritate us, such as Charlie doing his thing in the bushes. I mean, you know. Right. Don't be irritated by Charlie. It just, see the ironic and amusing side. What if all the things that irritate you, frustrate you, piss you off, you saw the amusing and ironic side of what's going on? How would it be? There you go. In meditation, we can see through the illusion of past, present, and future. Our experience becomes the continuity of nowness. The past is only an unreliable memory held in the present. The future is only a projection of our present conceptions. The present itself vanishes as soon as we try to grasp it. So why bother with attempting to establish an illusion of solid ground? This is why it is said the ground of being is groundless. Rest in the groundless nature. In its own ironic way, it is the most solid thing you could rely on. We should free ourselves from our present memories and preconceptions of meditation. Each moment of meditation is completely unique and full of potentiality of such moments. In such moments, we will be incapable of judging our meditation in terms of past experience, dry theory, or hollow rhetoric. Simply plunging directly into meditation in the moment now with our whole being, free from hesitation, boredom, or excitement, is enlightenment. So, as you can see, a wondrous being who, out of his great compassion, spoke these words, right? This is his own experience. He already knows this. Why did he bother to speak it? Why did he bother to write it? That is his great compassion for us. Right? He sees us suffering. He sees us walking around restricted and constrained, hiding, and living life full of strategies and all the stress it causes us. And out of that, he speaks the truth. Right? The utter simplicity of life. Does this seem hard to do? This is easy. Living a life of protection and don't want to be vulnerable and being scared and always concerned about what other people think and always trying to present and always hanging on to your thoughts and mucking around in the past and fantasizing about the future and guarded in the present and always having agendas, or as he called referentiality. That is a hard life. Look at all that work. Look at all that wondrous energy of mind that could be going into creativity and spontaneity and naturalness that is caught up in artificiality. Please look deeply into this. This is easy. You don't need any agenda, any strategy. You just show up. Every moment, wherever you are, just show up. Open, present. Is that clear? That's all that's being asked for us. Please, please take these words to heart. Let them sink deeply in to your heart-mind. Hopefully when you listen to these words, even as he alluded to, even though, again, there may be fear, there may be trepidation, probably for many there's resistance already. You're conceptualizing and fabricating all these reasons why you can't do it. That voice that you hear is the voice that is enslaving you. It is the voice of your delusions, panic-stricken, that you may listen to another voice. Right? If you are hearing discouragement, if you're hearing, I can't do this, anything you hear, it is that voice. It is not the voice of your true nature. It is not the voice of the Buddha. It is not the enlightened voice. And you've got to stop listening to that voice. Everybody in this room is probably hearing it right now. That's the very voice you need to stop listening to. That's why we chant in retreat every day, trust in mind. Right? Not our little petty ego mind. That's what everybody here trusts. And all it does is bring you suffering. Trust in mind, your true mind. And if you don't have that experience, then trust the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha who are teaching you, guiding you, showing you how to do that. Right? If you don't have your own awakened Buddha inside, then find the external Buddha to rely on. But you have to stop listening to that voice that's only giving you bad advice. Please do that. So, with the words of the great master Digo Chensi Rinpoche, the practice of Dzogchen is simply the complete carefree acceptance, a complete carefree existence, an openness to all situations without limit. By the way, this is a situation. Just if you're wondering what he meant by a situation, this is a situation. Are you totally open and carefree in it right now? Let's start now. If you think it's going to start when you get home, that's a fabrication. This is an experience right now. This is a situation right now. can, in this moment, you let go of all your concepts, all your ideas, all your strategies, all your reference point to try to make something out of this, and just relax and be open. It begins now. If you think you have to think about it, you're just going to kill it. It's alive. Be alive. Be free.